And this is what he is within the realm of what is acceptable in terms of that what is that the human side of teachers. This is what he's saying that we should be patient with. Not that if a teacher is doing overtly wrong and harming people and there's verbal abuse and things of that nature, let alone physical abuse or spiritual abuse and things going to extreme, that's not what we're talking about here, right? That has to be dealt with in a proper way and through the proper channels. What we're talking about, so that's a separate topic and that's a separate conversation. What we're talking about is other than that. Is that sometimes that there's teachers that are a little bit stricter than others, and they require more. And you all have it pretty easy here. That someone just told me a story recently where one of the teachers was teaching and the student arrived a little bit late. And then the student had kuhul on. And then the teacher has him stand up for a little bit, finally sits down. He said, kuhul is for night. You wear kuhul at night, not when you come. He was a young student. And then he said, get up, go rinse it off. Right, so he made the student go wash it off and then come back to the gathering, right? And the point is that there's some teachers that are like that. And there's some teachers that, you miss a lesson or two, boom, you lost your opportunity. There's a knowledge, right? There's some teachers that are like that. And sometimes it's good to have teachers like that because you learn. If teachers are too nice, that you don't get proper training. But teachers are different in that regard. And what I've seen mostly from our teachers is one of just rahmah, mercy, mercy, mercy. Right? But I've had some strict teachers too. And that our teachers are mercy. One of my favorite stories of all to tell is that Ramadan Rawha is known to be very merciful. Very merciful. You never see him scold anyone. And he loved the students and would take care of them. And I was young. I was like, 20 years old when I first went to study there. And I still am lacking a beard. This is one of the things, the sunnahs I have to follow with intention. Is that I wish I had more facial hair so I could follow the sunnah of the beard. But even when I was 20, it was much less. And so, on one occasion, I was the only one studying with him. And he normally was like sitting down. On this occasion, he like sat up. And he got like close to me. And he looked to the right. And he looked to the left, even though there was no one there. And he gets closer to me and like extremely merciful, he says, "Halq al-lihya haram." He says, it's haram to shave your beard. Right? And it's just like, it was such a lesson, just the way he did it. Right? I was like, Sayyidi, la yanbut. It doesn't grow. Right? Right? But it was the way that he said it. It's like, you own my heart, ask me whatever. Yani, there was no one around. And he still looked to the right, and he came closer and like mercifully. It wasn't like with a frowning face and rude and like, why are you shaving your beard, you fasiq? Right? It was just like, yani, right? So that's how you do things. Right? These, subhanAllah, I remember in Tareem, is that they have a rigorous schedule in Ramadan. Rigorous schedule, mashallah, tabarakallah, in Ramadan. The whole day is just filled with ibadah. La ilaha illallah. And like their schedule, subhanallah, Salat al-Maghrib, and then after every Salat al-Maghrib, after the 2 sunnah rakats, they do Salat al-Tasbih, and then they have a dua that they say after that. They have a little bit of time where then they eat and get ready, and then there's several adhkar that the word of Imam Haddad, the word of Ratib, the Ratib of Haddad, the Ratib al-Atas, and then other adhkar, the word of Imam Nawawi, and then Taraweeh, mashallah, they do a juz in 3/4 of a juz. And Taraweeh starts probably around like 8:30ish, and they don't finish their tartib there until maybe like 11 something at night, or maybe even 12, because they do one juz'ah in 3/4, and then after that they have witri, a much longer version. Our version is very short, They do many more qasaid and that type of thing. And then they have like a short little break. And then depending upon the time, they'll have like time where you are studying or reading Quran. And then tahajjud, 8 rakats of tahajjud after all that. And then pre-fajr awrad. So you usually don't sleep at night. If you do, maybe 30 minutes to an hour. And then no students can sleep until after Ishraq. So again, and then there's a class. And usually by the time Ishraq is getting close, at least 1/3, Allahu A'lam, of the students are sleeping. They're falling asleep. I've never once seen our teacher get upset or wake any student up. Ever. He realizes they've exerted themselves. Never once have I seen him complain or say the student should wake up in that. I remember being one time in a class where in the front row, one of his older students was exhausted and fell asleep in the front row. He started snoring. And then you could hear him, right? He started snoring. And then it's like someone next to him was like trying to like nudge him. And he nudged him a little bit and he'd be like, right, a little bit. And then he'd start snoring again, right? But the teacher goes on teaching as if nothing's happening, as if it's not there. And at that time, he kind of woke up in the dark. This is the rahmah of the true inheritors of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But the point is that you could very well have teachers that sometimes that do get a little bit moody, that have a temperament that is more strict. And being strict is not necessarily a bad thing. What we want ultimately is balance. And we learn a lot from strict teachers, but then there's a special adab that we have. So he's saying here that among the things the students advised to eat is that he not recite to the sheikh while the sheikh's heart is preoccupied or bored, or while he is reluctant, distressed, overjoyed, hungry, thirsty, tired, or troubled, or anything else that makes it difficult for him or prevents him from complete presence of heart or from being energetic. So is that sometimes we want to study something, look at the state and see, is it now an appropriate time? If it's an appropriate time, khalas. If not, then it's likely better to wait till another time. Now, and this includes bearing the sheikh's coarseness and bad aspects of his character and not being dissuaded from remaining with him and believing in his aptness. Now, and then that the student proffers valid excuses for a sheikh's actions and utterances that outwardly seem flawed. And so again, we have to know what to take from whom. Okay. So what we take from like an older brother in the religion who's a little bit more knowledgeable than us is different than what we take from like a student of knowledge. Is different from what we take from like an advanced student of knowledge. Is different from what we take from like a young scholar. Is different from what we take from like a scholar. Is different from what we take from like that scholars. There's degrees of different people that we take different things from when we ask different questions. And we pose different questions too. We have to know that what we're asking. And the nature of people, they want to ask the question that you have to ask the Shaykh of Islam, and they're like an early student. Right? So this is why it's very important to hammer into your heart, I don't know. Because people expect you, even if you go away for a year, they expect you to come back being a mufti and knowing a lot about your deen. Let alone if you've been gone 5 years, even the 5 years, it's like you're getting like equivalent of a bachelor's degree education. 5 years is you're just scratching the surface of the most basic things that you need to know in 5 years. That's the reality. And you have to keep learning to become a seasoned scholar after that. But the point is that people's expectations will be different. So you have to know and have already, this is why it's important to have a refined soul. And as Sayyidina Umar Khattab said, is that تَفَقَّهُ قَبْلَ أَن تَصَوَّدُوا. Learn your deen before you're in a position of leadership. Because once you're in a position of leadership and people are looking up to you, it's very hard to say, I don't know. You're just embarrassed for not knowing. And so put everything in its proper place. But what he's saying here is that make valid excuses for his actions and utterances that outwardly seem flawed. I went on a tangent to say is that teachers are human beings. And you don't know, your teacher could have a really bad headache and as a result says something that wasn't the most thoughtful thing, but he has a really bad headache. He could be going through a divorce. Teachers get divorced. He could be going through a serious health condition, right? He could that have had serious family problems. There's so many things that you don't know about. And usually the teachers of the deen are taught to zip their lip and not tell them about their tribulations. And they'll come to class even bearing those difficulties and no one knows. And sometimes when things add up, that they might treat you in a particular way that is not the standard that it should be. But were you to know everything that they're experiencing, you'd be like, oh, I totally understand. Right? That's what he's talking about, that kind of stuff, not abuse. Put that aside. Those are the type of things. Like he's saying that you have to be that patient with and put excuses for it. Maybe he's going through this, maybe he's going through that, hakada. And then if things persist and things like that, or if a student feels like they're being singled out, then at that point, it should turn into a conversation and speak to some of the other teachers and try to get to the bottom of it and that type of thing. And you find a solution. But in general, this is good because the whole point is who is incapable of this except for someone with little or no accomplishment? Yani, in other words, is that if you and I are always expecting for a shiny day and the best manners from everyone, when are we ever going to actually really learn? Allahumma salli sallam ala. It has been said, whoever is impatient with the humiliation of learning will spend his life in the blindness of ignorance. Man lam yasbir ala dhull at-ta'allum. So you have to be humble to learn. And sometimes you almost even have to, it's not really an actual humiliation, but you have to be willing to go low and just bear being someone who's in a position of learning. And sometimes it's hard for the ego. But if you're not able to be patient with the humility or humiliation even of learning, that بَقِيَ عُمْرُ فِي عِمَايَةِ الْجَهَالَةِ. He'll spend his life in the blindness of ignorance. So it's better to be really humble. It is learn. From people older than you, younger than you, more knowledgeable, less knowledgeable than you. And we even learn from non-Muslims. We should even learn from kids. There might be children who could teach us something. And if a child teaches us something, we should be careful not to pull the card of being older. No, if it's a valid point, accept it. And that's ultimately going to do nothing other than raise you. Man tawada'a lillah rafa'ahu Allah. And who humbles himself for the sake of Allah, Allah will raise that person. Ibn Abbas said, and we quote this before, ذَلَلْتُ طَالِبًا. I was humble when I studied, فَعَزَزْتُ مَطْلُوبًا. So I was respected when I was sought. In other words, the more knowledge that we get, there's two ways for power in the world. Knowledge and money. And not that we seek power through knowledge. But if you think about it, that these are the two main ways. And you obviously have status in there, but usually that's in one of these other. And there's a reason why the corporations know that. There's a reason why they recruit in major universities. There's a reason why things are the way they are. This is a society that knows the importance of knowledge and how powerful knowledge is and what this is a society. Unfortunately, it's often the enterprise of knowledge has been corporatized. And what really drives the modern university is economics, not really the quest of learning and seeking beneficial knowledge and what's actually going to be a benefit to people. Even if it seems like it's some type of benefit outwardly, it's in a frame that unfortunately they don't really care about you, right? In this research that they are developing and so forth and so on, in so many different areas, is that it oftentimes is not in what's in our best interests, or at very least you could say it's extremely short-sighted. Even the best of them think that it's good, but if you think about it and with all of the different ways you think about it, it might not be the best thing. The point here is that knowledge is the key. Knowledge is the key. Is that when someone knows something, they can clarify that this is a very powerful state to be in, and that someone will be respected. Now, the key is with our intentions, you don't seek that. If someone's seeking that, they're destroying themselves, right, when it comes to that religious learning. Okay, في الحرص على العلم. So this is the next chapter is on. Well, you have it as between lessons.
Between lessons, the student's etiquette includes his determination to study, incessantly doing so any time the opportunity arises. He is not satisfied with a little when much is possible. Yet he does not burden himself with what is overbearing to him, out of fear of boredom and losing what he has gained. This varies according to different people and conditions. If the student reaches the place where the sheikh usually sits and does not find him there, he waits patiently for him and stays close to his door. The student does not skip his daily lesson unless out of concern that the sheikh has an aversion to give a lesson for some reason, since he knows the sheikh's preference for being read to at one time and not another. If he finds the sheikh sleeping or occupied with something important, he does not seek permission to enter. Instead, he waits until the sheikh awakes or completes his tasks. Otherwise, he simply departs. It is better to be patient, just as Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma and others were. The student should take it upon himself to strive hard to achieve all he can, while he is free of responsibility and energetic, the body strong, mind alert, and occupied by duty. Before the hurdles of heroism and high rank come, the commander of the faithful, Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, has said, "Become learned, faqih, before you become a master." Meaning, strive to attain complete competence while you are subordinates before you could become masters. When you become masters with the following of students, you will be prevented from further learning because of your high rank and numerous preoccupations. This is the meaning of Imam Shafi'i's statement, radiallahu anhu. Become a faqih before you become a leader, since when you are a leader, there is no path to becoming a faqih.
MashaAllah. So he's titled this subsection Between Lessons. So we learned some very important things here. And يكون حريصا على التعلم. So the student should be determined to study incessantly. مواظبا عليه في جميع الأوقات التي يتمكن منه فيها. So the student's etiquette includes determination to study, incessantly doing so anytime the opportunity arises. Is what a student should be. Is that you have arranged for yourself times where you relax. There's times where you need to sleep. There's times where you need to eat. There's times where you need to relax. There should be set times. And outside of that, learn. And then there'll come a time when you reach the weekend, have set times where you're off. Have times where you have to rest. You cannot go 24/7. You have to rest your mind. And then do things that are within the realm of the permissible, that you make a good intention behind, you get reward for, and they might be fun or relaxing. And that there's a number of different things in the realm of what's permissible, all different types of sports, and that walking or hiking or in the winter, sledding or whatever, that things where you relax. You can go fishing, go hunting, something of that nature. Do archery, any of the sunnah sports. But his whole point is that haris, we should be haris. We should be eager to always learn at all different times. And this is really important. And he is not satisfied with a little when much is possible. So there's times where you can do more. And if you can do more, do more. Don't be satisfied with little when more is possible. Yet he does not burden himself with what is overbearing to him out of fear of boredom and losing what he has gained. So there's other times where there's too much pressure we put on ourselves and we try to do too much. And then we go to an extreme in another direction. So we don't want to do too little, nor do we want to do that too much. Because when we force ourselves to do too much, it could lead to boredom after that. What you want is the fine balance. And it's just not possible to study all day, every day. It's not possible. You have to take breaks. And when you take breaks and you come back to it, then you're strengthening yourself to even learn more, It's like exercise. Imagine if you just didn't stop exercising. Exercise. You're going to hurt yourself, Yani. You have to exercise, rest, come back, exercise again, right? And like to use the exercise metaphor, and like any given workout, that you might want to push it a little bit further, push it a little bit harder on that workout. And usually those are like the most important reps when we're exercising. So if you're doing push-ups, for instance, your goal is to get up to 3 sets of 50 a day or whatever, and you're at like 35. you're at 35, you're about to fall over. Those extra 2 reps, if you can do 36 or 37, that's what's going to really help you to actually build on that. If you just keep doing 35, it might eventually build you more. But those are the most important reps. So doing a little bit more, memorizing things a little bit better, repeating it a few more times and so forth. That's all good. And then he says here, Allahumma salli wa ala. This varies according to different people and conditions. If the student reaches the place where the sheikh usually sits and does not find him, then he waits patiently for him and stays close to his door. So it might be on one occasion that the sheikh's planning to be there for class. Something happens, he can't make it. All of a sudden, the students are giving text messages. Is there going to be a class? Is there not going to be a class? There's supposed to be a class. You be there for the class. Don't worry about it. If the sheikh comes to teach, you learn. If not, you spend that time. Why? And you wait patiently. Khalas. Right? There's a lot of different things that teachers have to do and a lot of different responsibilities within the community, within their own home, a whole bunch of other things. Sometimes they're coming back from another function. There's a lot of different things that happen. Right? If you know class at a certain time, you be there on time and use your time well. It's not time to be on the phone. Spend that time well, review, study something else, memorize it. Khalas. If the sheikh doesn't come, khalas. You've just spent your time reviewing. Khalas. Right? Now, the student does not skip his day less and less out of concern that the sheikh has an aversion to give lesson for some reason, since he knows the sheikh's preference for being read to at one time or the other. And then he talks about that in situations where you're going to their house and this type of thing, and the sheikh is resting, it's better just to be patient and wait. And then the statement that we just previously mentioned, statement of Sayyidina Umar, تَفَقَّهُ قَبْلَ أَن تَسَوَّدُوا. It translates that here as become learned before you become a master. Yani, I would probably translate tasawwud more as like in a position of leadership. No. Before you have people that follow you and listen to what it is that you say. It's very important. And there's a statement here he quotes Imam Shafi as well, تَفَقَّهُ قَبْلَ أَن تَرَأَسْ. Right, learn fiqh before you become a rais of some sort, some position of leadership, because it's very hard to learn your deen after that. And that's why that usually the vast majority of people need a period of time where they're freed up to learn for an extended period of time before they can go back and to serve. And that's so that they can get the requisite knowledge and so that they need to guide people and to be a means for their benefit. But it's also too so that transformation can take place. And this is why Imam Ghazali recommends usually that it's better to go somewhere away from your homeland, from your hometown, to learn in general. And one of the reasons is that when you're at home, is that there's attachments of different sorts, which things that you get pulled into to prevent you from learning. And the other thing is that there's people who just don't want to let you change. And some of the main people who don't like to let you change are your own brothers and sisters, right? You're trying to do better, but then your own brothers and sisters are telling you, like, oh, I know you. Oh, here you go again. Oh, you think you're going to, oh, okay. Right? Sometimes your own brothers and sisters are the main ones who prevent you, and your friends as well. Is that they know how you were a certain way. Oh, you think you're pious now, huh? Look at you. Look what you're wearing. Oh, look at you. You think, right? Oh, look how much you're praying. Oh, you think, right? They prevent you from transforming. And sometimes it's better to go away for an extended period of time, because when you do that, then when you come back, they almost expect that you're going to be different because time has passed. And a certain time has passed. So these are just various wisdoms of this. But if someone's in a situation where they are learning locally and so forth, then someone does their best and that type of thing. And this is something really, really important. Really, really important. And this is again, we're talking is that you cannot let anyone prevent you from getting close to Allah and taking a path to Him. Anyone. Even your own parents. You can't let that happen. If your own parents are consciously trying to get you to disbelieve or if they're a believer, they don't want you to learn. You can't let anyone get in the way of taking a path to Allah, not even your parents, let alone your siblings, let alone friends, let alone other people. Right? But at the same time, there's a way that we deal with everybody. So we have to learn this miracle-like trait of tact, of just putting everything in its proper place. And if we can learn tact, what's called in Arabic, mudara, then we'll be able to be in environments where there's people pulling us in different directions. There's expectations that people have. But don't let anything get between you and Allah, ever. No one. When you are in the future, many of you will get married. If you're not, some of you are married already. Don't let your spouse get in the way between your relationship with Allah. If you're a man, your wife, and if you're a woman, your husband. Right? Don't let your children. Yani children are majmana makhbala, mabkhala. Right? The children can produce cowardice in your soul and stinginess because you're worried about that taking care of them. And sometimes there's something you have to do for Allah. My children. No, you have to do it for Allah, you do it for Allah. Right? So children can be a source of cowardice. They could be a source of miserliness because you're worried about their provision. And I'm not going to give out because of their provision. Right? And your own children can even be an enemy of yours. Your own family members can be enemies of yours. If you, what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say? Aduwwun lakum, the hufath. What is it? So, mashallah, may Allah protect us, preserve us, bless us to be able to not let anything get between us and Him, subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to put everything else in its proper place, inshallah. La ilaha illallah. This is the 23rd day of Ramadan. We're in the very tail end. Tonight is the 24th, and then these days, we have a few days left. This is the time to, if we can leave everything else aside, to really focus and devote ourselves entirely, then now's the time to do so. Special nights coming up, inshallah ta'ala. Ta'ala blesses us to devote ourselves to Him, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we receive, as we get deeper and deeper and deeper into this month, resist the urge of thinking about even happen to eat and don't. Right? It's actually one of the major sins to want Ramadan to leave. Tamanni zawal Ramadan is from the kabair. It's from the kabair. And of course, when Eid comes, you're going to be excited for Eid. Excited for Eid. But is it لو علمت الأمة ما في رمضان تمنت أن تكون السنة كلها رمضان. Were my ummah to know what is in Ramadan, they'd want the whole year to be Ramadan. Ramadan, la ilaha illallah. The meanings that we learn, the mercy that we receive, and so many things we don't realize that are happening. That this month, were we only to know what is in this month, the openings, the light of Ramadan, la ilaha illallah. Right, this is an incredibly blessed time. May Allah Ta'ala preserve it for us. That finish Ramadan strong. Bidnillahi Ta'ala. Barakallah.